For those who require translation, we provide simultaneous interpretation system. Channel 1 for Bahasa Indonesia and Channel 2 for English. Om Swastiastu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, and greetings for all of us. A very good morning to you all. May peace be upon us. Welcome to Private Sector Leaders 2022 Lessons from Action and Collaboration in Disaster Risk Reduction for Bigger Impact in Social and Economic Resilience in Asia Pacific. Salam tangguh. We would like to invite all the distinguished guests to kindly rise to singing our national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, please kindly be seated. It is an honor for me to inform you that among us here we have His Excellency, the Vice Governor of Bali, which on this occasion was represented by the head of Bali Government Tourism Office, Mr. Cok Bagus Pemayun, His Excellency, the Deputy Minister for Region Development and Spatial Planning, Coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Dr. Insinyur Wahyu Utomo, MS, His Excellency, the Minister, Deputy Chief of Mission, Embassy of Japan for the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Masami Tamura, the Honorable Senior Manager, Global Operation, Asia and Oceania, UN Global Compact, Ms. Neha Das, the Honorable Country Director, Asia Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management Indonesia, Ms. Sinta Kaniawati, and the Honorable, the President of Indonesia Global Compact Network, Mr. Yaya Winarno Junardi. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, on this amazing day, we will attend the Private Sector Leaders Forum, where we will listen to the experiences of the private sector in building business resilience to disaster by implementing disaster risk reduction efforts that are in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, especially in the era of COVID-19 pandemic. And with the highlight of the event, we will have the reading of DRR Joint Declaration of the Private Sector Leaders. This joint declaration is voluntary, but we hope all the private sector leaders and participants can join in. Ladies and gentlemen, we will open the event by listening to a welcoming remarks by the Country Director of Asia Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management Indonesia. To the Honorable Ms. Sinta Kaniawati, the floor is yours.
A very good morning to all of us here who gather today in this beautiful venue in Bali Nusa Dua Beach Hotel and Spa, and all colleagues who has joined online. I think this is one of a happy occasion for us all to gather here in Bali. Of course, one of the event that we will be carrying on today is in the light of the event Global Platform on Disaster Risk Reduction in 2022. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to basically welcome all the distinguished guests who has joined today with us, with not only in the venue but also online. I would like to welcome the Minister, the Embassy of Japan, for joining us today, this morning. And also here in this room, we have the Vice Minister of Coordinating Economic Affairs, Bapak Wahyu Tomo, and also representing Bapak Vice Governor of Bali, Bapak Chok Bagus Pemayun. Thank you so much for joining us, and also all the colleagues who have actually joined today through Zoom. Ladies and gentlemen, I think today we are marking a very important moment where we as private sector can actually do something concrete in terms of reducing risk in disaster. We in APAD, Asia Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management, has actually gathered in Indonesia, in Yogyakarta to be precise, back in 2012, along with the GPDRR event. Back then, we have actually committed to form an alliance across Asia Pacific that we would like to connect all actors in disaster management so that we can be in synergy in putting effort together and really reducing the risk of disaster, but at the same time also join hand when there is disaster in terms of relief operation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have actually all across Asia Pacific, the Asia Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management members from Japan, the Philippines, Korea, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Indonesia. And today we are very happy because we have collaborated with one of the biggest private sector network globally, which is the Global Compact Network, and currently, of course, joining hand with us today's event is the Indonesian Global Compact Network. So I would like also to share my appreciation to the IGCN, the president of IGCN, Bapak Junardi, has also presented in this room with us. Of course, this event will not be successful unless we are actually supported by all the key private sectors speakers as well as the civil society organization. So we would like to thank all the panelists who have gathered here in the venue as well as online for your time and willingness to share. What we hope that at the end of the event, we can come with a concrete step and action point for us to be able to collaborate and create synergy stronger to build resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the event and we do hope that we can work on an action point after the event. Thank you so much. Salam Tangguh.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sinta Kanyawati, for the welcoming remarks. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as this forum is held in Bali, we would like to request the honor of the Vice Governor of Bali Province, which on this occasion was represented by the head of Bali Government Tourism Office to deliver his keynote speech. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Cok Bagus Tumayun.
Check. Ladies and gentlemen, before I read the speech, first of all, I would like to apologize because somebody should be here. This time is the Vice Governor of Bali, but because of other business, he could not be here. So I'm here to represent him to read the speech. The Honorable, the President of the again IGCNE, Mr. Junardi, the Honorable to Mr. Wahyu Utomo, Deputy Minister for Regional Development and Spatial Planning, Coordinating Minister of Economic Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, and the Honorable all keynote speaker and all participants of this seminar. Om Swastiastu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Salam Namo Buddhaya. First of all, let us say a prayer to God Almighty, because by His grace we can be here together, attending the seminar in order to discuss sustainable development for all COVID-19 transformational world. Since the beginning of 2020, we are facing the thoughts test that we have never felt at all previous time. The COVID-19 pandemic is global disaster that affect each other between regions, between countries, and between continents. Almost all countries in the world have been affected by the COVID-19 outbreak, including in Indonesia and in Bali. COVID-19 has had huge impact in various sectors, especially for tourism actor and business, especially since Bali relies heavily on the tourism sector, in according with Bali Province Regulation number 5 of 2020 concerning the standard of the implementation of Bali cultural tourism. Bali tourism is based on culture that is able to drive tourism potential in the dynamic of local, national, global life. Currently, the development of tourism in Bali has decreased even to minus 12, 12.2% at the end of 2022, which has paralyzed various sectors, the economic sector, the tourism business sector, as well in the employment sector, which can be seen in layoff or PHK and the closure of tourism business due to the decline request from tourists. Ladies and gentlemen, in the social sector, it can be seen from the behavior and habit of the community. Tourism actor and tourists rule from the government to be implemented in the community in according with the prevalence of the spread of COVID-19 are widely known as 3M, was washing hand, wearing mask, maintain distance, and cleanliness, healthy, safety, and environment, which include a program for implementing health protocol. The environmental sector, however, has had a positive impact, given that the excessive exploitation nature can now be minimized and reduced. Pollution caused by economic activity is also reduced, the improving air quality and environment. Seeing this condition, the government plays an important role in issue policing for the community and at the tourism component or stakeholders so that they can remain active and productive in movement in the economic sector. In the tourism sector, government policies are urgently needed and can be realized immediately, and we hope the tourist condition will gradually recover. Ladies and gentlemen, 2022, the case of COVID-19, especially Omicron in Bali, has been very sloping this due to the awareness of the Balinese people. We strongly support the vocation program organized by the government. Currently, as of May 21st, 2022, 105% have been vaccinated for stage 1, 96.34 have been vaccinated against stage 2, and even 63.43% have received booster vaccine. For booster vaccine, there are several districts that are even above 70%. Foreigners to receive international tourists, Bali has now been opened by imposing on a visa on arrival policy for 60 countries and even for ASEAN member countries, they have the privilege of free special tourist visit for those for visit maximum of 30 days. The no quarantine policy has also been implemented in Bali. Even now, there is no need for PCR requirement for tourists who want to enter Bali. This policy is breath of fresh air for the revival of Bali's tourism and the rise of other sectors in Bali. Ladies and gentlemen, since February 4, 2022, international flights to Bali have been open. So far, there have been 15 airlines landing in Bali. This has a very significant impact on international tourist visit to Bali, which currently has reached 2,000 until 4,000 people per day. The opening of Bali International Flight is a momentum that is expected to be respond to with maximum effort for tourism business sector in Bali by continue to be disciplined in implementation health protocol, providing maximum service so that Bali's image continues to shine and will be starting point for the revival of Bali tourism and the economy of Bali. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my brief welcome. Thank you so much. I close this greeting with Paramasanti. Om Santi 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 Om. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera kita semua. Salam Namo Buddhaya. Vice Governor of Bali, Cokordo Oke Arte Ardana Sukawati. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Mr. Cok Bagus Pemayun for the welcoming remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will invite to the stage the Deputy Minister for Regional Development and Spatial Planning, Coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, to deliver his keynote speech. To His Excellency Dr. Insinyur Wahyu Utomo MS, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Vice Governor of Bali Province, who is represented by Bapak Cok Bagus Pemayun. Selamat pagi Bapak. Kemudian Ibu Sinta Kaniawati, Country Director APAT Indonesia, Asia Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management. And then Bapak Yunardi, Indonesia Global Compact Network. Selamat pagi Bapak. Also, I would like to say good morning to Mr. Masami Tamura, Deputy Chief of Mission of Embassy of Japan for Republic of Indonesia. And then Ibu Nehadas, Senior Manager Global Operation Asia and Oceania, UN Global. And then also, of course, my friend, Pak Edi. Good morning, Pak Edi. Thank you for your invitation, Pak Edi. Without your invitation, maybe I will not come to Bali, Pak Edi, this time. First, I would like to also thank you for the ladies and gentlemen, and also all speakers and attendees who have contributed to this important event. First, I would like to remind all of us that because of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala permission, we are still be given a good health and opportunity to meet at the Private Sector Leaders Forum today. After more than 2 years, the world has been struggling fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, and finally, we are now starting to make a transition toward endemic, and some control policies have begun to be relaxed. The number of COVID-19 active cases in Indonesia shows a continuously declining trend, and full vaccination has reached over 80% as of May 21st, 2022. Second, on this occasion, I would like to express my appreciation to APAT Indonesia and Indonesia Global Compact Network, IGCN, who have organized this event as a pre-event of GPDRR. And on top of that, I also would like to express my gratitude to all parties who have been involved in disaster risk reduction with all relevant issues. Ladies and gentlemen, the rise of natural disaster trends has significantly affected the economic losses. In Indonesia, it reached to the average of 22.85 trillion per year. Meanwhile, in 2020, the COVID-19 caused economic losses of IDR more than 1,356 trillion rupiah, or equivalent to 8.8% of Indonesia GDP. This is based on Ministry of Finance data in 2021. And this is, of course, 15 times higher than the previous year's economic losses due to the natural disaster. Furthermore, the COVID-19 pandemic has also hit the business sector. In Bali, I just only take an example, as also maybe already mentioned by Bapak Cok Bagus Pemayun. And also this is based on the Central Bureau data of Bali province in 2020. 90% of employees were laid off in August 2020 compared August 2019. Also, foreign tourist arrivals fell as much as 74.18% if you compare between January-August 2019 to January-August 2020. And also, hotel room occupancy rate decreased 67.1% to only 2.557%. And we can imagine how much the impact of the pandemic to the Bali economic growth. Meanwhile, the global economy in 2022 is projected to grow positively despite facing various challenges such as pandemic, natural disaster, climate change, energy crisis, global inflation, and also supply chain disruptions. Several stimulus policies for the business sectors have been given in the context of handling the COVID-19 pandemic and national economic recovery. In 2022, the PEN budget is intensively allocated in the health sector, protection of the community, and also strengthening of economic recovery, with a total of 455 trillion rupiah or approximately 30 billion US dollar. Furthermore, structural reforms will be carried out, among others improving the investment climate, in operationalization of the job creation law in all sectors, of course, and also easing of doing business, accelerating infrastructure development, and other government agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, back to the big theme of this event, disaster risk reduction is needed to protect the whole community and development assets that are important for national economic growth. Therefore, it should always be the basis of the spirit of the sustainable development. But there are still a lot of challenges, such as the attention of related parties, including the business sector in disaster management, still focuses on the emergency response and post-disaster recovery, while efforts for disaster risk reduction are still lacking. Every time a major disaster occurs, it is for sure that the donations of or contributions from various parties, both domestic and foreign, will come in the same period of time. While the DRR, disaster risk reduction efforts, we often do not even have sufficient budget and time to discuss and come with a clear action plan. So I believe that today's meeting is very important because we can share together, we can maybe discuss about the plan for disaster risk reduction. Therefore, it is necessary to build economic resilience and business sector resilience in order to support disaster risk reduction activities. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some important points and the government expectation for the role of the private sector in disaster risk reduction that maybe I will explain one by one. First, business actors can initiate to implement business continuity management and disaster recovery plans to create business resilience, especially in the critical sectors, including economic strategic areas, to minimize potential economic losses due to disruptions or disasters, so that post-disaster area business recovery can be planned in a faster way. In addition, strengthening risk-based investment is also needed. Second, currently the government has provided instruments to support risk-based disaster financing through the pooling fund scheme. And this is also already based on the Presidential Regulation number 75/2021. The utilization of this fund can cover various activities from disaster reduction effort up to the post-disaster efforts. This institution will be put under the Ministry of Finance, Republic of Indonesia, and will be managed professionally by the Public Service Agency of the Environmental Fund Management Agency, or we call it as BLU, GPDRR. Hopefully, the business sector can contribute to this pooling fund. In this regard, of course, because this is quite new, we would like to receive any information or any input from you how to manage this fund so that it can be fully support with our activities related to the natural disaster management. Furthermore, the government of Indonesia also has implemented one map policy in which one of the thematic maps developed for disaster resilience purpose. This map is currently in the process of synchronization and updating that suppose could be used as a basis for planning, including the forecasting analysis for disaster impact. For related parties who have resources for forecasting technology, it is strongly encouraged to jointly implement for DRR purposes. Last, collaboration and synergy between the private business sector with government and other related parties within the pentahelix framework are required, not only during emergency and post-disaster response, but also in building resilience in disaster risk reduction, simultaneously along with accelerating post-disaster recovery. Regional approach in planning the DRR is also needed, considering that each region has its own characteristic in terms of disaster risk and social community. By reducing disaster risk, hopefully the burden in the emergency response and post-disaster stages will be reduced. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from all kinds of disasters and always give strength to all of us to synergize and rise together to accelerate the recovery of the national economy and reduce disaster risk. As I mentioned earlier, I would be happy to hear the expectation and input from the private sector to the government to increase the role of private sector in disaster risk reduction. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Insinyur Wahyu Utomo MS, for an insightful speech on the private sector's role in economic development activity and its role in disaster resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, next we will listen to the keynote speech, which will be delivered online from New York by the Senior Manager, Global Operations Asia and Oceania, UN Global Compact. To Ms. Nehadas, the time is yours.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, business leaders and colleagues, it is my great pleasure to participate virtually in the Private Sector Leaders Forum organized by IPAD Indonesia and UN Global Compact's local network in Indonesia. My name is Neha Das, and I am the Senior Manager Global Operations Asia Pacific at the UN Global Compact. From risk to resilience towards sustainable development for all in COVID-19 transformed world. This forum with its theme could not have come at a more appropriate time. The world is increasingly realizing why anticipating, reducing, and managing disaster risks, whether health-related, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, or environment-related, such as rising world temperatures, changing weather patterns, is a necessary prerequisite to finding viable solutions to tackling them and achieving Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. While there has been progress on many fronts, the world is not on track to achieving the SDGs. Social inequality and racial injustice persist. Global hunger is increasing. Many regions of the world remain conflict ridden, and the climate change risks are looming large at an alarming rate. The COVID-19 pandemic decelerated the progress that was made and proved that we are only as strong as our weakest link. The result has been a humanitarian and economic crisis that threatens to push the global goals even further off track. However, amongst many lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic, one important lesson has been the power of partnerships. All 17 of the SDGs confirm that global goals can only be achieved through global partnerships, and the pandemic underscored this reality like never before. The 2022 Edelman Trust Barometer, the survey reveals that societal leadership is now a core function of business. And business is demonstrating that leadership by joining hands with governments, civil society, global compact local networks to unleash the power of partnerships and take on a leadership role in responding to the world's greatest disaster risks. When the pandemic hit us, none of us expected that it would bring our world to a standstill. In the hour of crisis, UN Global Compact and its local networks played a strong role in fostering meaningful collaborations to respond to the crisis. For example, the COVID-19 Private Sector Global Facility, which was convened by UN Global Compact, ICC, and UNDP. And it is a platform that helps companies and other stakeholders to collaborate with a focus on SMEs' resilient recovery. In another example, and closer to home for many of you, Indonesia Global Compact Network, in collaboration with Dr. Share, fundraised and collected in-kind donations for protective gear for frontline workers. There are many such examples like this from across the world, which demonstrate that business agrees that it is no longer business as usual for them, and they are uniting to create a world which is resilient, inclusive, and sustainable. For the business leaders participating in this forum today, you may ask how you could start on this journey. My answer is to take the simplest first step. Join the UN Global Compact and engage with our network, such as in Indonesia, led by Ibu Josephine and Park Junadi, to scale the impact of your work. This forum and endeavors such as the Joint Declaration on DRR collaboration are vivid examples of private sector's commitment towards playing a significant role in the DRR. I applaud APAD Indonesia, Ibu Sinta Kanyawati, Indonesia Global Compact Network, and all of you today on raising the bar on DRR. I welcome the declaration and the powerful message it amplifies. I hope that companies around the world and in the broader Asia-Pacific region will also take similar decisive actions on DRR and risk management. The UN Global Compact will uphold the lessons that it has learned during the pandemic to harness the power of partnerships, to establish strategic collaborations that will allow us to accelerate and scale the private sector's global collective impact, focusing on the 10 principles and delivering the SDGs. I call upon all of you to join on this journey. I thank the organizers today for giving me this forum, this opportunity to share my thoughts. I know I am an august company, and I know that all of you together with your commitment through this declaration and through the discussions that will follow will definitely set an example not only for Indonesia, but for the broader Asia-Pacific region and the world. I wish you all a very successful event, and I really hope to see all of you live in the beautiful city of Bali one day. But now, thank you for the opportunity to participate virtually, and have a great forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nihadas. We are fascinated with your thoughts on how collaboration in SDGs will bring a positive impact to the business and its surrounding community. Ladies and gentlemen, the last keynote speech will also be delivered online by the Minister, Deputy Chief of Mission Embassy of Japan for the Republic of Indonesia. To His Excellency, Mr. Masami Tamura, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Selamat pagi and Assalamualaikum. Bapak Semayon, Vice Governor of Bali Province, and Dr. Wahyu Utomo, Vice Minister of Coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs, Ms. Neha Das, Senior Manager Global Operations, Asia Oceania, UN Global Compact, and Ibu Sinta, Country Director of APAT Indonesia, Papa Junardi, Indonesia Global Compact Network, all leaders of the private sector, representatives of relevant ministries, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I joined my previous speaker, Ibu Neha Das. I really missing visiting one of the most beautiful city of Indonesia, which is of course Bali. Same time, it is my great pleasure to deliver keynote speech on this occasion, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude and compliment to APAT Indonesia and the IGCN for organizing this session. According to a report published by the World Meteorological Organization last year, the number of natural disasters, such as flood and drought, has increased up to 5 times over the past 50 years. In addition, economic loss due to natural disasters is reported to have reached $3.64 trillion over the past 50 years. In order to respond to such natural disaster in the world, Japan has dispatched disaster relief teams to various countries around the world and almost every year, with more than 160 dispatches. 14 of them have been dispatched to Indonesia. In this context, I would like to appreciate APAT for their role in disaster relief. However, relief operation after disaster occurrence is not just one wheel of a vehicle. Efforts to reduce disaster risks are more conducive to saving people's lives and livelihood and more effective. For example, the development of warning systems has led to a drastic decrease in the number of victims caused by typhoon, cyclones, volcano eruptions, or even earthquakes. Therefore, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction positions investment in disaster risk reduction as one of the priority actions. In Indonesia, various disaster risk reduction projects have been implemented with the cooperation of Japanese ODA, such as the one at the Mount Merapi, Gunung Merapi volcano project. As we all know, that Japan and Indonesia are the most natural disaster-prone countries in the world, with frequent natural disasters occurring every year due to flood, earthquakes, and volcano eruptions. We almost have monthly or even weekly earthquakes. So Japan is happy to share our experiences and resources with our colleague, our good friend with Indonesia to develop disaster risk reduction. We have a project here in Bali as well. As you may have already seen, and I'm sure you have seen, the Nusa Dua beach in front of the venue of this session is a man-made beach constructed with our assistance and one of its functions is to block high waves. The Sanua Beach and the Kuta Beach have been also constructed with the Japanese assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, was formulated at the third UN World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction in 2015. And that declaration states 4 priority actions. The first is understanding disaster risk reduction. The second is disaster risk governance for disaster risk management. The third is investing in disaster risk management, both hard and soft, for resilience. The lastly, strengthening preparedness for effective emergency response and build back better. Back in 2015, I was a director in charge of Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the creation of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. Looking back on those days, Build Back Better concept was rather new one, but now it has become a universal concept. Based on Build Back Better concept, my government has cooperated with countries suffering natural disasters. Here in Indonesia, we have cooperated for more than 150 projects, and we will continue to provide assistance in the future. Natural disaster, the loss and the damage tend to become huge and big when that natural disaster is not anticipated. Take an example of earthquake and tsunami in Aceh. We didn't anticipate that magnitude of earthquake and tsunami. The same in Japan. We had a huge earthquake and a tsunami back in 2011. We didn't expect that level of tsunami coming to the area. Take another example is, of course, COVID-19. We didn't expect, maybe 2 years ago, we didn't expect this kind of a disease will cause such a huge disruption in world economy and also cause a lot of victims by this disease. So in disaster risk reduction, we have to prepare for something we do not anticipate. That is probably the most difficult part of disaster risk reduction. At the same time, we need free flow of thinking, information sharing, innovations, those good aspects of private sectors are really necessary to deal with natural disasters, which we do not anticipate. So the role of private sector, very important in this effort to reduce the loss of disasters. So in closing, I believe that the cooperation between government and private sector such as APAC, as I said, very important. And I hope that this session will contribute to raising awareness about the role played by the private sector and to lead to the discussions at the 4th UN World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum and selamat pagi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Masami Tamura, for an insightful speech regarding the key success factor for effective collaboration in DRR. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, due to a busy schedule, please allow His Excellency Masami Tamura to leave the event this afternoon. Before that, we are going to have a group photo session with the keynote speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, please kindly assemble in front of the stage. And also for the participants who are attending online, it is expected to be able to turn on your camera. This joint declaration is voluntary, but we hope that all private sector leaders and participants can join in. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have arrived at the main event, the private sector sharing session with the panelists from the private sector, which will be moderated by Mr. Said Faisal. Mr. Said Faisal is a senior disaster risk reduction expert from Indonesia. He is also a former executive director of the ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management. Ladies and gentlemen, we will invite to the stage Mr. Said Faisal.
Good morning, everyone. I think it is afternoon, but for the sake of the spirit, motivation, we call it always morning. Thank you so much. We have excellent series. We have lots of important individual. It's very interesting when we heard from the speeches in the morning, the role of private sectors as the main driver of the economy. We talk about Indonesian economy and members of G20. That was about $1 trillion economy, if I'm not mistaken. But at the same time, this country and all of the country around the world, we have a challenge of disaster. I mean, the question is, what can we do? The mighty power of private sector can also contribute to reduce the risk. We can use that with the commercial approach, asking the question is, how would that disaster risk reduction give a positive impact or the negative impact toward my company? Or we go beyond that. We go toward sustainable development. We go toward making the ESG, environmental, social, governance, that the hot topic now for the investor can also be part of consideration for the private sector to step in. Our topic today is about collaboration. Collaboration of private sectors and perhaps with non-private actors. So together, we can reduce the risk. Why is it important? Some people would say a safer life, a better future. But at the end, sometimes it's about responsibility. And interestingly, responsibility about something, if we do it, then good thing will come to us. If you don't do it, then of course the bad thing will come to us. It's the nature. So that's why we have seen good companies excel more than the less good companies in terms of environmental, social, and governance, sustainable development, and other things. Ladies and gentlemen, that's quite an opening. I tried to practice it last night, hope it works. Today we have a great speakers. I mean, the biggest challenge for today is how do we manage, how do we listen to 6 great speakers in 30 minutes? That's a big challenge because I need to finish the session by 11:50, which is, I think after a bit of talk, is now 25 minutes. So ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce, I think we have we have some of us joining with Zoom and the other will be here. Let me greet one by one. We have Mr. Ryota Shinsei. You there,
Good morning.
sir? Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much joining us. You're from Japan, Tokyo, am I correct, or some other place?
I'm from Saitama Prefecture.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. And then we have also Ibu Rahma Hanifa. Where is Bu Rahma? For those who are here, allow me to invite the participant to come to the stage. Bu Rahma, please join us at the stage. And then here we have also Mark. Join us at the stage, Mark. And then we have online IPP. Anyone representing IPP? I get the name of organization. IPP online? Okay. Well, we'll say hi later. And then we have Elim Sritaba. Ibu Elim?
Yeah, morning, Pak.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Ibu. And then we have Brian Tilaar.
Hi. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. So it's very interesting because here we have audience and we also have audience on the stage. So I need to look to the screen. So it's like I'm interacting with you, but at the same time, I'm going to look on the screen as well to see the real you. Then we have, well, that's Mark already being introduced. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll start the discussion. Let me start first with to Ryota-san. Now, I'm so sorry that with 25 minutes, so everyone will get the chance. Perhaps let us do the conversation, and if the time is still available, then I will allow you to do the presentation. But please share the presentation so everyone can read later. Ryota-san, tell me a little bit about your company. I heard about you running a green energy project, and that has a relation to disaster. Can you tell us a bit about your organization?
Okay. Um, can I show the slide?
Okay, please. Not too many.
Okay. We ELJ Solar Corporation is a private company in Japan that sells residential solar power system, storage battery systems, and B2H. ELJ was founded in 2000, and 2011, the year of the Great East Japan earthquake. We entered the energy industry, and now we are the first place in Japan in sales of residential solar power systems. And last year, the 10th year since we entered the energy industry, we opened a branch office in Sendai for recovery from the disaster. And now we are planning to expand into Asia, including Indonesia. Thank you.
Okay. Look, I'm going to ask you a question before I turn to others. We're talking about the collaboration, perhaps between private sector and government, private sectors with non-private sectors. From your experience, what is the most important element for successful collaboration in disaster risk reduction from your experience, Ryota-san? Any thought?
Well, actually, I am from Fukushima Prefecture, which was hit by the earthquake. And at the time, my family and some of my friends were there, so I called everyone to confirm their safety. My family and I watched TV to know about aftershocks, the second or third tsunami waves, and the situation of the nuclear power plant. What I learned from the earthquake was, in a time of emergency, the first thing we need is information. To get information, electricity is essential. So we're doing business about solar power.
So you're in business of solar power, and it was triggered because of the big earthquake and tsunami in Japan. And how do you see the impact of your solar power that being installed in any camp or disaster area? Any interesting lesson that we can learn from that experience?
Okay. So actually, we had a branch office in disaster affected areas just last year for the first time. But personally, there were a lot of things I learned from that disaster. One of that was the importance of disaster preparedness and information by electricity. And we have now 15 offices in various areas in Japan. And in the future, we are aiming to roll out to Asia, of course, including Indonesia. But I would like to remember that ELJ has been a local-based company. So spreading awareness of disaster risk reduction to the general public need steady efforts, but it's important. So we would like to use APAT's help to spread the importance of disaster preparedness.
Okay. My last question to you for the first round before I go to others. It's very interesting to see the Reason being, of your organization. It was triggered by disaster, and you are being motivated to create a solution for electricity that being used right after disaster, because that is one of the things that being impacted. How do you see when a business is carrying a social mission, now they call it a social enterprise, a private sector with a social mission. But then the next question is the question of sustainability. My question to you, from your experience, now if a company focusing in providing solution for disaster or disaster risks reduction in the long term, would that business be sustainable from your experience?
So we
Can you go ahead, please? Go ahead.
okay. So can I show one more slide?
Okay.
So
Good.
our solar power is one of the renewable energy, and before the disaster, 11% of Japan's energy mix was dependent on nuclear power. And after the nuclear power plants in Fukushima were damaged by the tsunami, not only the disaster affected areas, but very wide areas in the East Japan, including Tokyo, faced the power shortage. Renewable energy, especially solar power, was expected to be the substitute for nuclear power. What we are doing is spreading the renewable energy.
I see. Ryota, thank you. Ryota-san, thank you so much for your presentation, sharing knowledge, experience. I understand it's very much now that you started the business learning from the experience disaster in Japan, and you try to serve that market, but at the same time, what you're trying to achieve is providing sustainable energy and perhaps to the world. Thank you so much, Ryota-san. I'm going to the stage and talk to those speakers that we have it here. Mark, if you allow me, ladies first. What about? Okay. Thank you. Bu Rahma, thank you so much for joining us today. Youth Inspire. Why?
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Faisal. Why youth? Because we actually have 100,000 of youth and young people out there, and young professionals, young scientists, young researchers. Every time we have a disaster, we can have plenty of youth doing volunteerism. At some points, they will start to think, we can actually do something better than this. We can do some anticipation. We can do some disaster risk reduction, and we can utilize science, technology, and doing more innovation to have a more effective response and to save more people in the time being. And we have many youth that are scattered, having the silos. So we are trying to bring all the youth in our age, in our maybe generation, to be in one platform so we can feel together. Like working alone is really hard, but when you know you have a friend and have a different background and you can feel in each other's, so you can create collaboration and you can create more impact together. So that's why we started New Inspire, starting from Indonesia, and it is currently in 14 country chapters in Asia and Pacific. So we see in the map here, started from Indonesia, and after that in Pakistan, Nepal, Central Asia, Malaysia, Philippines, Japan, Afghanistan, Maldives, Thailand, China, and we currently have an interest from Fiji, from the Pacific already starting, and from Malawi, from Africa. So it's we can see that it's not only Indonesia, but also across Asia Pacific, there are many young people who want to contribute. So we want to empower.
That is interesting. I'm just curious. I mean, maybe reflecting when I'm much younger. What drive young people to get into this disaster thing? I mean, it's not that fun compared to other interesting thing, but what was the motivation for young people, scientists getting together, in particular young people, and then you're not only doing here and you think about expanding, and perhaps you can, share with us in the other part of the world. Is basically there is one motive that drive young people to work on this area.
Well, I'm happy that I'm also here together with other young colleagues, Septian, Niswa, Vega, and Rifa. And what similarity that we have in common is humanity.
Okay.
So I think we all feel this humanity. And once you've been to a disaster location, it will really bring very close to you. Like sometimes you can sleep very comfortably, but once you go to a disaster area, it really breaks your heart and you really want to do something. And what not beyond only giving some goods for short term, but you want to provide what you have to contribute for humanity better, so you can leverage the life of the other peoples, and you can feel like, okay, I will sleep happily, like safely tonight. I'm not worried that tsunami will suddenly happen. And maybe if we have many young people volunteering for reconstruction, rehabilitation, and emergency, they know how people struggle for that. So it's bringing more this humanity patients is something that bring together. And young people is very reckless, but they have many ideas. So once we come together, it started to, okay, let's do this. I can do that. I cannot do this. Of course, there's plenty of things that I cannot do, but because I work together with the other young people, so like we are feeling each other's, and we can do something better.
Wow, that's very impressive. You're able to put young people with lots of potential together, but not only young people. This is young people with heart that willing to help others and providing solution as well to alleviate the suffering. My last question to you before I move to other speakers. Tell us about the collaboration with private sectors. Did you have any collaboration with private sector, or do you wish to have it, or any experience, tips, lessons that you can share with us, please?
Yeah. So I will mention three things in the things. This morning we had a tsunami simulation in Tanjung Benoa. If you go to the north of this hotel, you will go to Tanjung Benoa, and we had a tsunami drill with the schools. Where do they evacuate? They evacuate to the hotels.
I
so
see.
We have 8 hotels all along Tanjung Benoa that have MOU with the local government. So in case of tsunami, they will go to the shelter. We have many tourism in Bali. And so when something happens, this private sector will be the one that saves the lives of the community over there. And this is what is my contribution? So I'm a researcher. So my contribution is providing the science. We need to know where is the potentials, what kind of threat that will happen here, and leading to the SOP. So we facilitate discussion on the SOP and so on. But the local government, the community, and the hotels are the one taking the actions. So it's a bridging the collaboration.
Please.
So the second, Second is we have more young people doing socio entrepreneurship. We have heard about socio entrepreneurship before, so we have our Fly for Humanity initiatives. We just heard that what we are looking is for information, and now we are closer to spatial information. We will ask where is the impacted area. So I'm proud to be with our drone pilot Septian here. With his passion and heart, he will go to the field. Initially, he doesn't have any drone.
Okay.
So he worked together with the drone company. They landed the drones and mobilized Septian to the field. And he will take in the other young pilots and map the location. And we collaborate with BNPB,
Okay.
BPBD.
Good.
So we provide the rapid mapping for emergency responses.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very interesting because you just gave us an example that partnering with private sector is not only about transferring money to our account. It's not only about funding, but it's also a collaboration in a form of using their properties, using their technologies, using their equipments.
Yes.
So that is also a collaboration. I mean, the private sectors can,
Yes.
sometimes the property is not being used, so that is also a form of collaboration.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I will come back to you. Now I will go to others. Brian, you're 8 Hub, right? Right, but I think because you're the hub, let's listen to others, and we put everything together at the hub, right? Okay. Thank you. Now I'll go to Ibu Elim Sritaba.
Yeah, Pak.
How are you, Bu Elim?
It's good. Thank you, Pak.
I think we need to check the voice. Can you say hello, Ibu?
Hello?
I think we have a hello, Ibu.
Yes? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Okay.
We will increase the volume here. Can you hear us clearly?
Yes, I can hear clearly here.
Okay. So I think the IT will work on the volume, but tell us a little bit about your organization, and we would like to learn about the collaboration, in particular, private sector collaboration. Please, Ibu, time is yours.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, APP is one of the biggest pulp and paper industry globally. So we market in more than 150 countries, and we know as a pulp and paper company or industry, we rely on the natural resources very much. Our raw material coming from the plantation, which is the HTI. So basically, I would like to share about the collaboration. So I like to listen when you say that it's a collaboration. It's not only transferring the fund, but how we can use or exchange the expert or what we can collaborate. So basically, starting in 2015, when there is a risk about the forest fire to our plantation, and then we found the root cause, how we can involve communities more in our operation. So we launched our integrated forestry farming system in 2015 and start to implement in 2016. And after 2 years implementation, we found some success story from the communities by providing seed funding to them, assisting them to know more about the sustainable agriculture. And we found a lot of women group also willing to involve and show the performance. And in 2017, I met Bu Marta Tilaar in one of the IGCN meeting, and I found that Marta Tilaar group has a really good program in terms of women empower, and this is the one that I found that how to scaling up our program and to bring more impact. And the collaboration happened. We formalized the collaboration with Marta Tilaar Group in 2018. We signed the commitment for women, how we can empower more than 1,000 women in our operation, and of course by using the expert from Martha Tilaar. So we signed the agreement in New York Climate Week in 2018. So as a part of the sustainable development goals that coming from the two industry, we have a common goals using in supporting SDGs, which are no poverty, gender equality, decent work, and economic. So life on land. This is the collaboration and partnered with the program to encourage community to have a alternative livelihood that focus on women, where Martha Tilaar also have a expert. So the result, more than 160,000 women, and within the 80 women groups in the various fields such as farming, food and beverage, and beautician, women has taken leadership and entrepreneur roles and within this program. And we believe they are likely to be in the position of influence to shape their surrounding, including their next generation as a mother role. And indirectly or directly, of course, will bring impact to our business where they are living surrounding the plantation and the forest, and how they can protect the forest, not using slash and burn in their agriculture practice. So this kind of collaboration that I think is really bring impact, positive impact, not only to the company, but of course in the community itself, because of they can improve their economy, livelihood, impact, bring more education to their family. So we believe the collaboration, of course, will bring scaling up more impact to all stakeholders. So that's
Thank you. It's very interesting because I heard a lot of interesting words, I mean, which is I'm very keen to learn. We're talking about success story. We're talking about scaling up the activity, which could lead to scaling up the impact. We are talking about contributing to sustainable development goal. Now, I think maybe not many companies having that perspective. What I would like to ask is, when we talk about all this collaboration, if we see the balance sheet, that would be more on the cost as the spending. And some private sector would say that is spending, while the private sector would care more about the other side of the balance sheet, which is making the revenue. Some people would say that should not be considered as a cost, but should be considered as investment. What would be your view about, is it a cost that we spend, or it is actually doing all of this collaboration, building, working with society, scaling up program, contributing to sustainable development goal, and also reducing risk or disaster risk reduction? Whatever we spend should not be considered as a cost. It is an investment in a long term. Would you agree on that, or you have a different perspective, or you have a lesson that you would like to share? Please, William.
Okay, I agree. This is a part we consider as an investment because of experience when forest fire happened in 2015. I think prevention is a more cheaper compared that doing some suppression and other thing to stop the fire. And then that's, of course, will bring more risk to our asset, as a plantation is one of our raw material, main raw material. So we believe this is one of the investment. That's why our company put the commitment allocated $10 for only this program. And then we want to touch around 500 villages, which is right now already almost 400 villages being part of the program. And we believe that continues doing this as a part of our sustainability of our business. So of course, some of the people internally in the first challenged me because of seeing as a cost, but of course, as my role to provide explanation and then to convince them that this is part of our sustainability.
Wow, that is fantastic. So it's not only challenging perhaps from some of the other companies, but also internally we have different people with different KPI. If
Yeah.
you talk to the finance guy, then they would say, it is bleeding the cash.
Yes.
But then, of course, it's not only that. In longer term, we are talking about sustainability. It's not only about for environment, but also for the business. My last question before I move, Ibu, tell us from your experience, what is the important element of successful collaboration? Whether that would be private sector with private sectors, private sector with community, private sector with non-profit organization. Key successful learning about collaboration, please.
Yeah, I think the first we have to have a same or common goals in the beginning, and then of course we have to believe that whatever that we doing together is not only to see the short-term goals, but how we can also believe that this will contribute for the long term, because of dealing with the community and running this kind of program needs some patience as well. It's not easy to bring a community to the next level, but we believe that when they have some thinking in the level that we are in the private sector also have in the future, I think the sustainability of the business and also will contribute directly to the operational more efficient. So yeah, that's my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Number one is very important. When we build collaboration, the first question to ask, are we going toward the same direction, common goal that can be agreed by all partners? Ibu Lim, thank you so much for the lesson. And I will go to Pak Brian Tilaar.
Yes. Hello, Pak. Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Okay.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I think we would like to learn from your experience as well. Private sectors, collaboration in terms of disaster risk reduction or other things toward sustainable development. From your experience, I mean, perhaps you can start with telling us a little bit about a different type of collaboration of your organization is doing. And maybe we would like to listen from you as well, interesting experience that can be an insight for all of us in building collaboration with private sectors. Go ahead, Pak.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. So Martha Tila Group always strive to apply the principles of the United Nations Global Compact, both with fellow business units and other parties. We connect and collaborate with other parties, institutions, local government, the community to carry out the corporate sustainability program in hopes and that this partnership could also contribute to the achievement of the SDGs in Indonesia, such as with the APP Sinatmas Group, which facilitated by the Indonesia Global Compact Network. Also, with the inclusive sustainability, sustainable economic development INSET project initiated by the governments of Indonesia and Germany through the German Federal Ministry for the Economic Cooperation and the Development and the Ministry of National Development Planning, Bappenas, together with GIZ in promoting inclusive and sustainable employment through the development of wellness tourism village in Bilibante. So the several collaborations. So with the APP Sinatmas, so the main purpose is to encourage alternative livelihood which are free of deforestation risk by empowering women in rural areas such as around APP Sinatmas palm wood suppliers and mill operations. The main goal of our collaboration is to train and empower women to help conserve plans and become self-employed entrepreneurs through many activities such as identify and process valuable local herbs, organic cultivation, training, making healthy food and beverage, drinks, beauty classes, micro entrepreneurships, branding and packaging, as well as digital e-commerce. Another objective of these collaborations is to diversify incomes that allow communities to not depend on only traditional products such as palm oil, but also to enhance their ideas in utilizing potential plants surrounding their houses as
Okay.
raw materials for consumer products in terms of healthy products, food and drinks. So
Okay. But
yeah,
Brian, if I may ask, that is very interesting. I mean, for those who are not in private sectors, NGOs and non-profit organizations, that's basically their core business.
Yes.
And their reason of being, their objective, their mission. But what I would like to ask from your experience, you're in the private sectors, but
Yes.
also doing that social mission, and also mentioning about achieving sustainable development goal. From your experience, how does that benefit the organization overall in the long term? Can we link between doing the non-core business or social activities is actually in the long term also having or creating a positive impact to the company?
Okay. Thank you for the questions. So of course, there are many several positive impacts to the company. Of course, the reputation in the short and long term, and if the company is a public listed company, whether in Singapore Stock Exchange or Indonesia Stock Exchange or elsewhere, that the reputation and show the integrity that the company is really totality. I mean, it's very good company. So the mission of late Kofi Annan at that time, the initiative of Global Compact that the business sector should participate, to develop much better world. So for the business sector, of course, the economic impact is the reputations that for instance, that if we want to work with many multinationals in the US, in Europe, in Australia, in many places in the world, that they want to know that your company doing very good practice, for the human rights, for the environment, for a human rights environment, and how you doing good with your labor. So that's that's my sharing. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very interesting because doing good is actually also leading to having a good partnership outside Indonesia in particular, and also lead to the reputation of the organization of the company itself. In particular in the eyes of investors, because now world is moving toward beyond money in measuring any organization. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm gonna check IPP.
Halo,
Any
Kak,
representative
Ami.
from IPP?
Yes, halo semua, di sini dengan Ami
Okay,
Hatta, Pak.
I assume we have a sort of connection, but I'll go back to Mark. Look, you have listened many things, and we talk that you have an organization or company called Aid Hub. Tell us what it is.
Yeah, so thank you again. I just want to say really quickly, I'm very honored to be here, and I'm representing our CEO who's going to be here, and he's our founder and a co-founder with Pak Janardi. There's a few of the Aid Hub family in the room, and really just an honor to be here. So
Thank you.
Aid Hub is a technology platform. It's a not-for-profit, and it's a technology platform actually for the collaboration for global sustainability. The idea that Aid Hub itself has been around for a few years. Alan had the idea. Now the technology has been just making leaps and bounds in the last few years. And one of the reasons I'm here is the CTO. I'm very excited about launching later this year, and we're open for pioneer partnerships. So people get in touch with me, please, because all I'm hearing today is synergy, opportunity, and the way in which we absolutely want to be collaborating. I've heard so much today, just like the SOPs that you're talking about, the best practices, and then the success stories, like really being able to tell people from a private sector endeavor, like an ESG or corporate responsibility group, when you have something that you've done that has been so impactful, and then you pat yourself on the back, you put it in your annual report, and you file it away in a different corner. That's what our Aid Hub, as you can see, the SDGs are literally in our DNA. Everything we do is put up a plan about what you're going to do, and then you operate on our platform with full transparency with all the donors and the private sector money, and even crowdsourcing, so get involved. When the youth see and are inspired by a story from You Sustain, then they can follow in and join and see what they can do, what talents they can offer. Very exciting. The deployment and the disaster recovery, disaster relief, but now we're looking even further and earlier, and I'm really excited about how we're going to have the Sendai principles, the framework, not just be a nice document, not just a PDF, but actually something to use and implement.
No, just interesting listening to your story.
Yeah.
We're talking about Aid Hub. The hub itself is like a connecting point of many actors, right? Which is the essence would be our ability to collaborate with different stakeholders.
Exactly. And private sector right next to the not-for-profits, right next to the governments, telling people how they want to get it done. Then it's transparent with the impact that you have. Our logo is making impact count. It's literally counting the impact that you made.
Tell us a little bit about your experience in collaboration. In particular, why does it work? Why it doesn't? In some of you approaching whatever organization, you said, this is a good partner. On the other side, what did I do wrong?
Yeah. I think that comes down to kind of knowledge management. When you really look at what, and I've been in knowledge management for 30 years, I think, and mostly in the private sector, because there was a lot of opportunity for technologies to leap into what's going on in my business. That was their time. Now we look at the impact sector, we see the lack of transparency, the lack of actually telling your best practices and sharing it with others, because there's a scarcity mindset.
I see.
Like that, right? But then collaboration starts. The zeitgeist right now, Dr. David Attenborough saying, or Sir David Attenborough saying, we are the best innovators on the planet, let's get together. And that's what we're so aligned with that as a concept. And I'm really excited to be building it with a team here in Indonesia of Balinese and Indonesian software developers. And we're just going, like I shared with you earlier, we're just growing like crazy. It's awesome.
Now, let's go a bit moving forward. If this initiative is very successful, and I understand this is now, it's already successful, but what would be the impact that we could make by having a very successful Aid Hub?
I think what our vision for what success looks like is that everybody gets to learn about what not to do and what to do, and follow what other people have already done, standing on the shoulders of people that have been succeeding and have cared about a certain thing like women empowerment, feeding children, or risk disaster repair, recovery. All of that best practices shouldn't sit in a folder or a PDF or a white paper somewhere on someone's shelf. we know that that stuff is able to be shared across modalities, across everything through the use of technology now. So we're looking at high level technology,
Okay.
artificial intelligence and things like that, to bring that at the right time to the right people, no matter where they are in the world. So it's really, it's kind of the best time to have this thing actually be successful.
So it's basically when everyone start, or any organization start joining this and then sharing their knowledge, their best practice into our system or app, but actually at the same time, it speed up the learning curve of each of the parties involved.
Exactly. And then look at the impact that you would have. You tell me what community you're affecting, then you say what you're going to do with them. Then on the system, you're reporting and declaring that you're doing those activities. And then we measure it back for you.
Okay.
There's confidence ratings, there's impact scores. It's really got a lot of sophisticated, but also very familiar technology aspects to
Okay.
it. It's great.
Mark, thanks so much. I'll have a note here. Bu Ami, can I get connection with Bu Ami or in the room?
Yeah, sure. I'm online. I'm connected online. But please allow me to speak Indonesian, Pak, because I'm here not only to share the experience, but I would like to transfer the passion of helping SMEs. Thank you.
Bu, perhaps are you from PPI?
Indonesian Paradise Property TBK. INPP.
Tell us a little bit about your organization and what you do.
The ticker code is IPP, INPP, Pak. Let me share.
Okay.
One screen.
IPP.
Yes, Indonesian Paradise
Right.
Property TBK. Host doesn't allow me to share the screen. I cannot share the screen.
No worries. We have I think we have about 2-3 minutes before we close the session.
Okay.
And perhaps you can share a little bit with us. Any interesting that you have learned from having collaboration, perhaps with different organizations?
Ya Pak, please allow me to speak Indonesian Pak. Jadi yang dilakukan oleh INPP adalah Business Continuity Plan untuk UKM di tahun 2018 dan 2019. Jadi kami menempatkan latar belakang daripada dilakukannya Business Continuity Plan untuk UKM di Bali khususnya itu adalah kita berkaca pada erupsi Gunung Agung di akhir 2017 yang telah mengakibatkan terhentinya supply chain untuk seluruh bisnis unit kami yang ada di sana. Let me share our business unit in Bali is Sheraton Bali Kuta Resort, Beach Walk Bali, Haris Hotel Tuban Bali, Park 23, and it is now it is called Sahid Kuta Lifestyle Resort, around 5.3 hectares in Kuta, Central Kuta. Itu jadi yang kami lakukan.
My last question,
yes,
Ibu,
impact-nya
apa ya ketika UKM itu kita latih, kita berikan ilmu tentang business continuity plan. What was the impact? Is it useful or have you seen anything else?
Ya, tadi saya setuju ya dengan Bapak. It is not only about transferring funds to the beneficiaries, dalam hal ini adalah SME, karena sesuai dengan misi kami adalah perusahaan itu melakukan aktivitas sosial yang memberikan manfaat tidak untuk masyarakat, tidak hanya lingkungan kerja tapi juga aman dan nyaman. Dalam hal ini SME adalah stakeholders paling penting untuk mendukung operasi bisnis, karena bisnis segmen yang perusahaan adalah mall dan hotel, di mana kami berkaca pada erupsi Gunung Agung, supply chain terhenti sehingga kami tidak bisa melakukan operasional secara sempurna gitu ya. Contohnya aja mungkin restoran atau kita tidak bisa serving full menu of the restaurant gitu. Jadi atau mungkin kita tidak bisa melakukan bisnis operasi perusahaan secara maksimal karena kami menghadapi mitra kerja yang dalam hal ini adalah UKM yang menjadi supplier atau vendor kepada bisnis usaha kami itu terhenti operasinya. Jadi kami merasa perlu untuk memberikan kapasitas pengetahuan kepada UKM. Dan ini bukan hanya sebagai usaha yang sustainable, kami yakini ini tidak hanya karena ini di sini ada proses edukasi, bukan hanya proses edukasi artinya membuat simpelnya membuat mitra kerja kami dari pengetahuan yang sangat minim menjadi memiliki pengetahuan bahkan skill yang baru gitu. Kurang lebih seperti itu, Pak.
Ibu, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize because actually my performance indicators as facilitator failed already. I couldn't finish it at 11:50. It seems like impossible for me to facilitate 6 speakers with just 30 minutes. So I'm failed, it's okay, but I hope in return you get more time to listen to various great speakers' experience and knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Big round of applause to all the speakers. Fantastic, fantastic. One of the important things that we learn from collaboration with the private sector should not just stop at transferring money. It goes beyond that. It's not only about making profit, but also about building a reputation, because in the private sector, reputation also counts. Thank you very much. I'm Said Faisal, your facilitator today. Over to MC. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank
For the
you.
speaker
Thank
here,
you.
please.
Thank you, Mr. Said Faisal and the panelists for the very inspiring discussion. Hopefully, the private sector leaders will continue to be committed to sustainable development using the DRR principle. And hopefully, the knowledge and experience shared are useful. Ladies and gentlemen, our highlight event this time was the reading of the joint declaration of DRR by Mr. Junardi, President of Indonesia Global Compact Network, and followed by the beating of the gong as a symbolic sign that the declaration and commitment of the private sector leaders had been read. To Mr. Junardi, time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished participants here in Bali and everywhere else. Listening to whole morning of this discussion today, then come to mind about the popular singer John Lennon with his famous song, Imagine. So I just imagine if there is no disaster, then maybe there is no need APAT anymore. And maybe there is no need to have this today, the 7th UN Global Platform Disaster Risk Reduction going on in Bali this week also. Imagine there is no hunger and no poverty. And maybe there is no need for SDG, no need for ESG,
and no need organization like us, United Nations Global Compact. But unfortunately, the imagination is not a reality at this moment. We are working to address that, but there is also still going on in terms of the disaster. Disaster can be a natural disaster, and disaster can be because of man-made disaster that we need to take a look at and to address it. So this is why we have this morning and many other occasion discussion has been done, initiated by APAD with support of IGC and many other organizations with government and so forth, in order to focus today about this, how to manage the disaster, how to do this, reduce the risk from the disaster and all those things. And I would like to thank you that today we have distinguished speakers from Pak Wagub, Pak Cokorda Arta Sukawati, and also from Bapak Wahyu Utomo, Deputy Minister of this Ministry of Economy, from NIHA, okay, and then from Tamamisan, and also from all the other panelists that we have today. Very lively discussion, and I know time is too short. Managing 6-minute discussion and it's not easy as well. Also try to manage to get the people coming to Bali for this one, although I like Bali very much, of course. So the key, I would like just to pick up and some of these keywords that has been presented by Pak Wahyu also. Is basically then what we need to do is raising the awareness, okay, raising the understanding and doing the action related to disaster management. And that's again what we are talking about today. And number two is also interesting that in order to do that, then what we need to do is, of course, financing and acquisition of the skills, knowledge, tools, okay, and in order to do these risk reductions, avoidance or management, whatever. And then we need to have a data about this one. The data for the people, data for the land, data for the cities, data for all the tourism spot, okay, and what are we going to do with all of these places? Yesterday we had a dialogue with at the UN office in Jakarta, dialogue with His Excellencies Amina Mohamad, the Deputy Secretary General, which she is now here in Bali as well, about all of this one also. Then what we need to do is that we discuss about collaborations and partnerships. I would like to add two more important factors for this one. Number one is the need of the commitment from everybody. Commitment from private sector, commitment from government, commitment from the societies, and commitment from all in order to do that. Number two is the need for trust in order to do it together in the partnerships. So what we are going to do today as part of this agenda, in closing this, we would like to also sort of asking for pledge of support and commitment from everybody, either here, offline, or all these participants online, in order to support us with what we call, we use it to call declaration. Okay, and the declaration is voluntary in nature, but we would like also to have all of you to take a look at this, and then although it's voluntary, but I think it's also something very important for every company to look at it, to do it, okay, and to embrace this spirit and also have the action in terms of this disaster risk reduction. So we have this declaration, and I think the declaration is already on your desk, and also I believe it's been distributed along with the confirmation of the participation by online. So you have all of this. I have two versions. The one is the English version, and then also the Indonesian version. We prepared in English also because I know we are looking for the commitment and support from this all this business from overseas. So I would like to just quickly read that. Okay, and I hope that maybe if you have it later on, maybe you show that it is supported and signed. And I would like to take this opportunity before I read the declaration. I would like to have Ibu Sinta coming on stage. Okay, and then also Pak Heru, Pak Wahyu, and all the panelists, yeah. And all the panelists, also Pak Faisal. So let's put together now. We are together with these declarations, and also, of course, attended by the people here, and also all the participants attending this online. Maybe I just would like to read, and all the speakers as well. Maybe I just want to read it in Bahasa, yeah, rather than in English. You know, we have two versions. Declaration of Private Sectors and Civil Societies in Private Sector Leaders Forum, Lessons from Action and Collaboration in Disaster Risk Reduction for Stronger Impact in Social and Economic Resilience. From risk to resilience towards sustainable development for all in COVID-19 transformed world. APAT Indonesia and IGCN session here today in Nusa Dua Beach Hotel and Spa, Bali, 24th May 2022. Menyadari bahwa tujuan pembangunan berkelanjutan didasari oleh keyakinan bahwa masa depan manusia tergantung pada banyak sekali faktor yang kuasa pengendaliannya ada pada pihak-pihak yang berbeda dan karenanya hanya akan terjaga bila diusahakan secara multi pihak. Kedua, bahwa pembangunan sosial dan ekonomi masyarakat adalah pilar utama dari tujuan pembangunan berkelanjutan yang merupakan agenda bersama semua pihak dan sektor swasta memiliki posisi kunci dalam proses pencapaiannya. Tiga, bahwa sektor swasta atau bisnis memiliki posisi ganda sebagai pemberdaya dan sekaligus sebagai penerima manfaat dari pertumbuhan sosial ekonomi masyarakat. Keempat, bahwa setiap bencana besar atau kecil adalah ancaman disrupsi yang nyata bagi pertumbuhan sosial dan ekonomi masyarakat dengan potensi akibat beruntun yang panjang. 5. Bahwa kolaborasi adalah pendekatan kemitraan multi pihak yang diyakini paling tepat untuk menyelesaikan masalah yang kompleks, di mana tujuan yang sama masih menyisakan potensi perbedaan perspektif yang perlu diselaraskan secara bijak. Maka, dengan ini kami menyatakan niat dan langkah nyata untuk mendorong upaya dan melaksanakan kolaborasi di antara entitas sektor swasta, bisnis, dengan pemangku kepentingan lain, baik di tingkat lokal, regional maupun internasional, untuk memperkuat Disaster Risk Reduction atau DRR sebagai penangkal dan pengurang dampak bencana dalam mewujudkan ketangguhan dan pertumbuhan sosial ekonomi masyarakat serta tercapainya tujuan pembangunan berkelanjutan. Upaya peningkatan kesadaran akan wawasan DRR dan aksi nyata implementasi inisiatifnya antara lain melalui berbagai program berbasis masyarakat, riset bersama, dialog, pelatihan, dan wadah berbagi. Kami mengajak seluruh sektor untuk turut serta dalam mewujudkan tujuan bersama ini. Bali, 24 Mei 2022, tanda tangan dan nama dan instansi bagi Anda-Anda yang mendukung deklarasi ini. Terima kasih. Untuk selanjutnya kita tutup pameran.
Thank you very much, Mr. Junardi. The ladies and gentlemen, please remain on the stage to accompanying Mr. Junardi in the beating of the gong.
Kita mesti mulai dengan tanda tangan dulu yang ada di depannya harus tanda tangan dulu. Dari Bapak-Bapak Ibu yang ada di meja yang hadir di sini, yang berkenan juga mohon bisa melakukan tanda tangannya nanti untuk dikumpulkan di organizer. Bagi teman-teman atau Bapak yang ada di online juga kami mohon kalau berkenannya untuk bisa juga menandatangani deklarasi yang sudah dibagikan juga bisa nanti dikirimkan kepada Sekretariat APAD atau IGCN. Sebagai tanda penandatanganan ini, maka kita akan memukul gong bersama-sama.
Thank you, Mr. Junardi, Excellencies, and private sector's leaders. You may back to your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, time is passing very quickly and now we have to come to the end of our agenda. Before we finally close this event, we are going to have a group photo session. To all private sector's leaders and the participants, please kindly assemble in front of the stage. And also for the participants who are attending online, it is expected to be able to turn on your camera. Once again, to all private sector's leaders and participants who are in the venue today, please kindly assemble in front of the stage to have a group photo session. Thank you very much for the private sector's leaders and participants. You may back to your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, our agenda has finally come to the end. Thank you for attending this event and thank you for your kind attention. And salam tangguh. Om Santi 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 Om. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, and greetings for all of us. Attendees are welcome to have lunch in the restaurant downstairs. Thank you.